Hi everybody. So in today's session, we're going to be looking at how to avoid fear-based thinking. My name is Sam. I'm a coach, a change consultant and a career counsellor. In my consultancy, I work with one-to-one clients and larger organisations. And I'm also a specialist in imposter syndrome and I'm delighted to be with you. Please make sure you've got a pen and paper to hand. And if you haven't, pause the video now and you can go and grab one. There'll be plenty of things for you to think about and to take some notes. And there also might be time throughout today's session where you might want to pause and reflect on what is being shared. So what we'll be looking at? Well, the agenda for this session is we're going to look at what fear-based thinking looks like in yourself and in others. Increase your self-awareness. And my top tips to help you when you feel those fear-based thoughts kick in. IGD recently conducted a survey where they asked people on their thoughts on inclusion and diversity. One of the quotes that came back said, "I'm concerned I might get some elements wrong and the challenges in setting this right." This is a really great example of a fear-based thought. And I'd like to start by saying that you can't solve a problem with the thinking that created it. So what is fear-based thinking? How can we spot it? Well, I want to share with you a number of elements that you can think about for yourself and for those that you work with in order to spot it in action. The first one is talking danger. Classic quotes will be, "I see disaster written all over this." And what people are looking for is a safe space. They're putting themselves at risk. Avoiding the issue, maybe cancelling catch-ups. Before we start, I need to tell you something. And this is usually personal, but taking you away from the agenda at hand. It could be making the excuses. "Well, this isn't a priority at the moment. I thought we were working on something else. It's not my job." It could be blaming. "This is because no one cares, gets it right. This is somebody else's fault. Why are we dealing with this? Well, we didn't bring this up onto the agenda." Overthinking. Going deeper into the problems and an inability to see positives. Worrying. Worrying tends to be an internal dialogue. It can affect well-being. And actually, when we worry, we tend to make problems bigger than they actually are. Or guilt. Taking an unnecessarily level of personal responsibility about what is at play. Or deflecting. Changing the subject. So take a moment now, maybe pause the video, think about the ones that you tend to run when you're feeling fear, when you're feeling a sense of danger, when you're feeling that something could go wrong. Now, it would see that when we run these fear-based thoughts, they can feel really big and they can feel insurmountable. And I'm sure that you're probably thinking now that I'm going to have a really convoluted way of sourcing fear-based thoughts, but actually, they can go as quick as they arrived if you face into them. The fear-based thoughts can sound quite childlike because our first fear-based thoughts come in when we are children. And actually, when we feel fear in an adulthood, actually the reactions in our head and thinking about the language I've just shared with you can sound quite childlike. So here are my top tips. Stop. Don't try and power on through. Don't try and feel the fear and do it anyway. Stop and write down the actual concerns. Now, those concerns will fall into two categories. The first ones will be those real concerns where something could go wrong. And the second ones are those that are quite dramatic, that we've actually made up in our head and made bigger than they actually are. So the second step is ask, are these real issues or am I creating them? Think about what actions could you take to reduce the real fears and concerns? What are the things you could practically do? Could you have a conversation with somebody? Could you say, "I want to be honest with you. This is what's going on for me. What are your thoughts on that? Have you got any advice for me?" But the question that I really like at the end is the one that I tend to offer to my clients. Have you thought what could be possible if all of this actually went right? So take a moment now to go back and think about the responses you had to the slide before this one and run through them. Stop. Write down the concerns. Are they real issues or are you creating them? What actions could you take to reduce the real fears and concerns? And what could be possible if it actually all went right? Thank you.